You overthink everything. Why? Well, here's the one reason why you do that. But before I get into it, let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how there are some people out there who just seem like they do and have a care in the world? They're carefree, relaxed, calm, cool, collected, seemingly never stressed or worried about anything. Now, what's different between those people and you? What is it that makes them able to live life so effortlessly without overthinking everything and feeling super stressed all the time? Well, what if I told you that the difference between those people and you comes down to one simple thing: your thinking style. That's right. The way that you think determines whether or not you're going to be someone who is constantly overthinking everything or someone who is more carefree and lives life more effortlessly. And here's the best part. Unlike what most people believe, which is that thinking styles are set in stone from birth and can't be changed at all, the research actually shows us that we can change our thinking styles. We can learn to think in a completely different way than we used to think before. Now, as a mental coach who has worked with thousands of people around the world to help them improve their confidence, reduce their anxiety, and reach their goals, I am going to share with you what the research shows us are the two different thinking styles that we can adopt, and show you why adopting the second one will stop you from overthinking everything. Let's first start by talking about the first thinking style, the habitual thinking style that most people fall into, and that is the future-oriented thinking style. This is when your mind is constantly focused on the future, imagining what could go wrong, worrying about what might happen, and trying to plan for every possible outcome. When you think like this, you're basically stuck living in your head, replaying over and over again in your mind all these imaginary scenarios where you imagine yourself messing up, making mistakes, being humiliated, rejected, abandoned, and so on. And this type of thinking is problematic for two main reasons. First, when you spend too much time focusing on the future like this, you rob yourself of the present moment. You miss out on fully experiencing the life that you have right now because you're too busy worrying about and trying to control the life that you want in the future. Second, studies show that this type of thinking, which I'll refer to as anxious future-oriented thinking, increases our stress levels and decreases our ability to focus on the task at hand. In other words, when your mind is cluttered with worries about the future, it becomes very difficult to pay attention to what is going on in the present moment and perform your best. So why does this happen? Well, let's take a look at the example of public speaking. Let us say you have a big presentation coming up next week and you're really nervous about it. You start to imagine what it would feel like to mess up during your presentation. Maybe you picture yourself completely blanking and forgetting everything that you were supposed to say, or maybe you imagine the projector not working and everyone staring at you awkwardly while you stand there with no slides. Whatever it is, your mind starts to imagine all these worst-case scenarios where things don't go according to plan. And as you continue to imagine these scenarios over and over again in your mind, you start to feel more and more anxious about the presentation. Your heart starts racing, you begin sweating, and your stomach feels like it's full of butterflies. But then something interesting happens. Because you've convinced yourself that you're gonna mess up during the presentation, you start to believe that this is gonna happen for sure. And as a result of believing that this is gonna happen, you act in a way that makes it more likely that it will. For example, because you're so nervous and anxious about the presentation, you end up spending all week leading up to it frantically running through your notes and trying to memorize everything that you need to say. And because you're so distracted and overwhelmed with your thoughts, you end up barely getting any sleep the night before, and you show up to the presentation feeling exhausted and frazzled. As a result of you acting this way, you end up messing up during your presentation and confirming your initial belief that you're not a good speaker. And so this cycle continues, making you even more nervous and anxious about future presentations, causing you to overthink and over-prepare for those, and ultimately resulting in you performing even worse and cementing this belief about yourself that you're a bad speaker even further. Okay, now that we understand why overthinking often leads to a downward spiral like this, let us talk about how we can break out of it and stop overthinking everything by changing our thinking style to the second thinking style, which is called the present-oriented thinking style. So, what is this thinking style and how do we adopt it? Well, this thinking style is exactly as it sounds. It's all about shifting your focus to the present moment. It is about being fully aware of and engaged in what is going on right now, rather than worrying about the future or ruminating about the past. When you think like this, you're able to relax and enjoy the present moment because you're not distracted by thoughts about the future or the past. And research shows us that this type of thinking decreases our stress levels and helps us to feel more focused and in control. To see the difference this can make, let's go back to the example of public speaking. Let's say you have a big presentation coming up next week. Instead of worrying about what could go wrong, what if you decided to shift your focus to the present moment? What would that look like? Well, instead of focusing on your worries about the presentation, you focus on the task at hand, which might be as simple as just reading an article about a topic that interests you, or taking a walk outside to clear your head. By focusing on the task at hand, you're able to relax and enjoy the present moment instead of worrying about the future. Then, when it's time to start preparing for your presentation, you approach it with a calm and focused mindset. You're able to think clearly and come up with creative solutions to any problems that arise because you're not distracted by worries about what could go wrong. And as a result, you end up giving a great presentation and feeling confident in your abilities as a speaker. So how exactly do we learn to think in this present-oriented style? Well, one of the best ways to do this is through meditation. Meditation has been shown to help people become more focused and less reactive to the demands of everyday life. To meditate, simply sit down in a quiet place, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. When you notice your mind wandering to the future or the past, gently bring your attention back to the present moment. At first, this may be difficult, but with practice, it will become easier. Another great exercise to help you practice this type of thinking is to do a daily mindfulness check-in. Throughout the day, take a few moments to check in with yourself and ask yourself, are you thinking about the future or the past? If so, gently bring your attention back to the present moment. By practicing this type of thinking regularly, you'll eventually adopt this thinking style and find yourself overthinking less and feeling more relaxed and focused. So there you have it, one reason why you overthink everything and how to stop it. Remember, the way that you think determines whether or not you're going to be someone who overthinks everything or someone who is more carefree and lives life more effortlessly. By changing your thinking style from a future-oriented style to a present-oriented style, you'll find yourself overthinking less and feeling more relaxed and focused. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe to this channel to get more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.